And this is when I clocked like, oh, we are full. Robin Williams has no script and he's just off on an errand.
Pretty much.
Let's have fun. They said, Robin, these are the beats we need to hit. Have fun.
Improv king. Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, incredible. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Post Finale. I am your host, Ankit Madhira. I'm an actor and a singer who has not seen a lot of films, so to make my friends happy and potentially provide a new perspective on some popular films, I am on a quest to change that. I'm never on this quest alone, however. This week, I am once again joined by an actress and a wonderful friend of mine who is one of the aforementioned friends who has gotten upset with me of not watching things, Adoria Lily. Adoria, welcome back. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Wonderful. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing lovely. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful. Yes, the magic of editing. It's been a whole, I guess now like 20 minutes. We did take a break in between since we
Yeah.
ended the last
Such
week.
a journey, though.
Woo, it's a lot has happened in the 20 minutes. I had a phone call. I responded to an email. I got some water. Probably should have eaten, but I didn't. Oh well. Um. Anyway. We are back. We are here talking about Hook, the 1991 film starring Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. Now, Adoria, if you could play someone in this film who is not Hook or Peter Pan, who would you want to play?
Easy, and I feel like you should know this. It's like the other half of the
Pretty
episode
sure I
we
know
talked
the
about
answer.
Tinkerbell.
Okay, cool. It is Tinkerbell. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tink is about to get on my nerves. Look, Tink is great. Do not get me wrong. Tink in this movie, Julia Roberts, incredible. Her performance, incredible. Tink, about to cross some boundaries that's gonna get on my nerves. And Tink, I got some issues with you, girl.
Yeah, I can't relate on that part of like Tink, but the sassiness, the fire, who wouldn't want to fly and be glittery and just like, actually, I have the power to make you fly too, but it's at my own leisure. Um, and
Okay.
honestly, she is a caregiver too. Like we kind of
She
mull
is.
over that. We see a lot of the sassiness in her crossing boundaries, but Tink has been a caregiver. And honestly, like a co-parent with Peter Pan, like to Peter Pan and to the Lost Boys. So, she's been a lot of things for these boys in this
Mhm.
universe.
Yeah, for sure. I think Tink is a wonderful character, right? You can't have Peter Pan without Tinkerbell. And I love Tink, and she does great in this movie. She does some very, very good things in this movie. She's about to do something that pisses me off. Let's get to it. Now,
Okay.
it's later in the night that Peter has now officially become Peter. He's able to fly, he's playing, he's having fun, he's able to crow. Like Peter Pan is properly back as Peter Pan. Later
Yeah.
that night, he sees Tink, who is crying, and he's like, "Are you sad?" And she's like, "No, I'm not sad." And then he's like, "Well, are you sick? I can get a thermometer." That's how he made the Wendy lady better. And then he proceeds to put his hand like down his mouth and like makes her laugh. Um, and this is when I clocked like, oh, we are full. Robin Williams has no script and he's just off on an errand.
Pretty much. Pretty
Let's
much.
have fun. They said, Robin, these are the beats we need to hit. Have fun.
Improv king. Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, incredible. Now, Tink says that it's not that, and then he makes her laugh and asks if they don't have the greatest adventures together. Tink asks if he remembers that his next great adventure is to save his kids, and Peter says, "Kids? Peter Pan has kids?" Is he not able to remember anything anymore? Like, just like Neverland makes you forget, but like also you forget the happy memory of being your dad? Then what's your happy memory? How are you flying? This doesn't make sense. He makes her laugh and asks if they do not have the greatest adventures. Tink asks if he remembers that his next greatest adventure is to save his kids. And Peter says, kids? Peter Pan has kids? Here's my gripe with this. Is he not able to remember anyone anymore? Like, I understand the idea that Neverland makes you forget, right? Neverland makes you forget, totally cool. But his happy memory was being a dad. And if he forgot that, and he forgets that, how is he still able to fly? We saw it earlier. When he can't think of that happy memory, he stops flying. But now, all of a sudden, just because he was able to fly for more than half a second, he's now able to have every happy memory, but he forgets the happy memory that like actually made him fly. This logically doesn't make sense based on the lore that they have built in this film.
Right. Or it cancels itself out because the initial thought that made him fly has now been overwritten by all his other good happy memories and with the new ones of the prospects of like not thinking about tomorrow or the past anymore. It's living in the moment. And in that moment, he has happiness with his surroundings and he doesn't care about anything else. And those become happy, carefree, you know, thoughts and memories that where it keeps him afloat. Cause he's like, who? What am I again? Like, and it just like cancels out immediately.
Look, I understand your logic, right? And I understand where you're coming from. However, to counterpoint this, is that, like, yes, he has these happy memories and he's able to fly, but then, like, he remembers in like half a second again. Like, so Neverland doesn't actually make him forget.
There are
And then
holes.
once he remembers all the time. Why couldn't you remember all the time from the beginning? He only forgot for like an hour or two. But why does he forget? It doesn't make sense.
It's kitty logic, but adults clock the
I'm
errors.
picking apart the kitty logic. Have you learned nothing from this show, Adoria? You've been on this show. This is the majority of what I do is I get confused and I get
I'm the
annoyed.
yin to your yang. I'm the kitty logic. I'm keeping it here. I'm keeping it grounded. You know, this is in the eyes of children. This is technically a children's film, and we can't, as
Peter
adults, take
Pan
it
is a
apart.
drunk. What part of that makes it a kid film?
There is a lot of aspects that's not kiddie because, like, when you look at the cast, you know, it's like prostitute number one or whatever, and secretary number two. And like, there's aspects that are definitely not Disney-esque of Peter Pan, but essentially, it's still a kids' movie.
It's a choice. All right, fine. We won't gripe on it too long. It pissed me off. Anyway, let's get to the next thing that pisses me off. Anyway, so yeah, hi listeners. You've joined in on Ankit's rant, and apparently this is how I've broken up the episodes. I didn't realize what I was doing when I was watching this movie. Sorry. Anyway, I promise we'll get into some fun, silly things later. But like, I got some gripes. So he feels better and great. He's not able to remember them. Tink asks why Peter thinks that he is in Neverland, and he's like, to always be a little boy, to have fun. And I'm like, Peter, look at yourself. You ain't a little boy. Anyway, Tink starts glowing, and it seems like Tink is becoming a full-sized human. And hey, look, Tink is now a full-sized human. Okay, that magic now exists. Sure. Where are her
I
fairy
mean,
wings?
he couldn't be a full-size human when he was a kid. You know, there would be problems with that. Um,
Look, I get why, right? Like, again, I'm not mad about her being a full-size human. I'm mad at the fact that when she is a full-size human, she doesn't have her fairy wings.
I mean, it's called magic, and she
What?
put them away for the moment.
She's a fairy.
I mean, it's the same thing with mermaids. When they're on land, the tail is gone.
No, when they're on land, they are no longer a mermaid. They are a woman.
And as soon as that water splashes, here comes the fin flapping.
but they go back into the water to become the mermaid.
They're not fully submerged before that tail comes out.
The wings need to be there. Anyway, moving on, because otherwise this is gonna be just Ankit's pissed for the entire first half of this episode. And I'd really not like that to be the entire first half of this episode.
No, I get it. I have movies like that. This is not one of them, but I have movies like that where I literally, bitch by bitch, word by word, tear it apart.
Don't get me wrong, I am enjoying this film, except for this moment. I don't love this moment. Anyway, this moment. Let's figure out what this moment is, right? So Tink's a full-size human. She says, it's the only wish I ever wished on myself. The biggest feeling she's ever had, and it's the first time that she's been big enough to have it. And I was like, oh no. Is Tink in love with Peter? Don't make Tink in love with Peter. Why does Tink need to be in love with Peter? And then she goes, I want to give you a kiss, Peter. And I'm like, oh, don't do it. Now we get, and he's like, okay. And then she's like, a real kiss. And I'm like, oh, they do kiss. She does love Peter Pan. Here's the thing about this kiss. This is not like a little peck of a kiss. This is a deep, passionate, loving kiss. Tink, there are boundaries you do not cross when you know that this is a married man and he can't remember things because of the magic of the world. Tink, you should be better than this. A peck I would have been okay with, not a deep, passionate, loving kiss. Tink, you crossed a boundary. Also, why did they need Tink to be in love with Peter? That doesn't need to be a thing. Tink doesn't need to be in love with Peter.
It's kind of been it was always an underlining. Anyone who knows, like even in the cartoon, Tink gets upset and insanely jealous, turns red from her glowing yellowish kind of luminescent skin, and gets locked in that little drawer where she's trying to stick through, but she has wide hips. So she is a jealous woman. She is. Peter is hers. For all intents and purposes, it's her property. Anyone who moves in, you're in the danger zone.
Look. I love this. I don't mind this, right? I understand that Tink is a jealous woman and that Tink wants Peter for herself. I get all of this. But like you said, this is a kid's movie. We do not need an affair with Tinkerbell.
Yes, I know.
When I signed up to watch this movie,
That shouldn't be a defense. In her defense, she knew him first. She didn't claim him.
Well, she didn't do a very good job of hanging on to him, did she?
No, she didn't. And it took only one person to broaden his horizons again. And he didn't even end up with that person. But
look, again, if this was a peck, I would have been more okay with it. But this was not a peck. This was a deep, passionate kiss. After said deep, passionate kiss, Peter says, I love her. And Tink goes, who? And he goes, love. And he doesn't say love, sorry. He says, Mo. Like he's about to say more. And Tink thinks that he's gonna say more and is about to give him another deep, passionate kiss. Tink! Boundaries! You know the magic rules of the world! Calm yourself, woman!
I can't. I've spoken my piece on Tinkerbell.
This is fair. Again, you see my gripe with this though. Like
I do, and it is, and I don't condone cheating, affairs, or whatever. This is a sticky situation. They're in a whole nother plane. They're not even the normal world. He technically will forget about it, most likely. And he's gonna die an old man. He's not gonna stay there. Like, let's be real. Like, Tink, you're never gonna have this. This is more of a bittersweet goodbye, and I will never have this again.
Yeah, I get that from her. But also, a peck is enough, Tink. A peck is enough.
Oh no, she needed the experience so that way in her, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of years as a fairy and continuous living that she can hold on to. That's probably going to be her one true love and she's never going to love again. Peter is it.
I don't know, Thudbutt seems nice. He seems lovely.
Would you want someone named Thudbutt?
Well, maybe he goes by Thud.
Like, no,
No,
there's only
Rufio's
one
mean to
Peter.
her. Rufio's mean to her.
Well, maybe she needs that because she's a little sassy pants herself.
Okay, fair. Now, she goes back in for this kiss, but before she does, thankfully, he says Moira and Jack and Maggie. And then he remembers. Thank God he remembers. But Tink wasn't about to tell him. Tink wasn't about to tell him about his wife or his kids. She was just like, well, he forgot about his kids. I'ma get me some. Like, Tink, be better. Tink looks heartbroken. Good, you deserve to be. You have crossed the line, Tinkerbell. I have issues with you right now. She says,
Yes.
and then Peter says that he has a plan, says that Tink needs to come. Tink asks if when it's all over, he'll leave and he will never come back. Asks Peter what he is staring at because he goes off to stare at the ocean and, like, I don't know, Hook's boat and all of that
Hmm.
stuff. He goes to save them, and she pixie dusts him off of the cliff and turns back into a small Tinkerbell. Tink, I got some issues with you, but, like, we got through it. Now, the next morning, the Lost Boys are getting ready for battle. I will say, it's a very fun way to get ready for battle. I love that the way that they put on the armor is they jump through sheets of wood to just the armor sticks to them. It's like a little roll-up armor. Incredible. Seems like all of their weapons and everything is made from trees and wood. This is my
Yeah, not
understanding.
very efficient.
Except their swords. Their swords are the only metallic things that they have.
Hopefully, no one has a match.
Yeah, honestly though, Hook, all you needed to do was, like, pour some gasoline and have a match. And, like,
Oh my god.
canonically, he has a revolver. So all Hook really needs to do is pour some gasoline and use the revolver on the floor. Wow. I just gave Captain Hook a really easy way to kill the Lost Boys. Anyway, moving on. So meanwhile, back on the boat, Jack has gone full pirate, and he has, like, a whole little, like, hat with, like, a wig attached to it. Like, oh, it's cute. It's adorable. And he picks out an earring, which is, as Hook tells him, a special time in a pirate's life when a pirate first receives one. Jack has this wig on. It looks great. Now, it is like the first time you run someone through with a blade. And he tells Jack to tilt his head, and Hook tells Jack to brace himself because this is really, really going to hurt. Now, he's going to give Jack a piercing with his hook. This seems like a bad life choice.
Absolutely. And there's no way, there's no sterilization. Like, I didn't even see him
It's
torch.
not even that. It's a size problem. The hook is bigger than his ear.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not going to poke him with a hole. He's going to just create a hole.
Well, yeah, maybe he wants gauges. You never know.
Look, he's going to become George from Harry Potter. He's just going to have a hole in the side of his head, just no ear.
Oh gosh, no.
Hey, at least he ain't Fred. Now,
What?
what? Like, I love Fred. It makes me sad that he's gone. Now,
Yeah.
anyway, just as the piercing is about to happen, we see a blade ripping through a sail. A piece of the sail falls. Smee picks it up, and it is the shape of a man. We look up at a hole that is not the shape of a man, and in flies Peter Pan. That hole is not the shape of a man.
This,
The
this,
cut, the cutout was that hole was not.
it wasn't. It wasn't. I can't negate that. It wasn't.
Now, Jack asks who that is, and Hook looks amazed and is happy to say it is Peter Pan. Hook hasn't realized it's been 3 days and says that it's true, time really does fly. Asks how he managed to fit into those smashing tights again. I didn't realize it until he said this, but, like, yeah, his outfit has changed.
Yeah.
Now, Peter jumps onto the deck, doing a flip on his way down, as he must, style points, and he starts walking towards Hook and Jack. Peter says, "Hand over my son now, and you and your men may go free." Hook says, "Ask the lad yourself." Peter asks for his hand to go home, but Jack says, "I am home," and moves over to Hook. Hook says that he is my son, and I love him dearly, and I will fight dearly for him. Jack gets shoved aside, out of danger. It's not like in a malicious way. And Hook says that he has waited long to shake Peter Pan's hand with this, and by with this he means the hook. Peter, prepare to meet my doom. The other pirates jump in, and the fight ensues. Peter flips and runs away onto the deck. He stabs a pirate. He fights off another. He throws some into each other. Jack is watching all of this in awe. Peter grabs one who also has to keep fighting while Peter is like holding on to him because his friends are dumb and keep swinging the sword at the pirate. Like, I don't understand the logic of the pirates here. They're like, we need to hit Peter, so we're going to swing a sword at our friend. Like, that logic doesn't make any sense, but like, cool. So this poor bloke has got to keep fighting while Peter is holding on to him. Peter eventually lets go of him. He grabs another one, lifts him above his head, and then starts spinning him and uses him as like a top to hit other pirates. It's an incredible sequence of events. Hook says, "You shed blood, then it's hard to stop. It's a pirate's life." Jack, meanwhile, is like, "Do I know that man?" And he's talking about Peter. And Hook's just like, "Nah, you've never seen him before in your life." And I'm like, "Nah, it's just your dad who's finally figured out how to have fun." So Peter says, "Hand over my son." No, oh, wait, no, we're way past that. Sorry. Okay. So while fighting, Peter says to Jack that he found his happy thought. It took him 3 days to find it, but when he did, he flew up, and he tells Jack that he was his happy thought. So much for Maggie. Maggie ain't important. Also, Peter, apparently your happy thought, not a very strong happy thought, because you forgot about your son after like an hour. Like, be better, Peter. Be better. But it's okay. I'm more pissed off at Tink. Now, Hook realizes that, Peter's starting to fly. So he releases a net. Peter is hit by the net and is dragged down by the other pirates. Jack recognizes that Peter is his dad, but he's like, "Wait, but my dad hates to fly." Peter, while being trapped in this net, yells, "Bangarang!" And it's time for the Lost Boys. Now, they swing in, they swing over from their ship, and the battle is on. The Lost Boys also have like a water-moving tank thingy-mabobber. I don't really know what it was. It was hard to describe. We saw it for like half a second, but it was cool. Now, Hook tells Smee to call the militia. They will need every last man. Rufio and Peter meet up and crow together. Smee rings a bell, and then as he's ringing the bell, he goes, "If there's anybody not fighting, get here quick." And I was like, wonderful. What a call that you want to hear when you are the reserves in a battle. We're losing, help.
Anyone we can just throw to the sharks.
The children are beating us up with their wooden bats and water gadgets.
Even though they have wooden armor and you have on clothing of a pirate, we should still be able to beat them, right?
I mean, they are children.
And apparently they're not so bright adults.
No, not at all. Now, they hear the bell. Both sides form ranks. Peter says, "Show them the white light we're made of, boys." And Hook says, "Remember the fires from hell that forged you." The pirates charge. The Lost Boys open up mirrors and blind the pirates. Perfect. No notes. Then the Lost Boys hit them with an egg cannon. Robin Williams having the time of his life making faces at a chicken is all I have written down in my notes.
That chicken was their version of Hey Hey before Hey Hey was Hey Hey.
Hey Hey didn't need to be Hey Hey. I wanted the pig. I didn't need Hey Hey. I wanted the pig to go on that journey.
Yeah, Pua is very more helpful.
Yeah, I like Pua. Hey Hey's cute. Don't get me wrong. Hey Hey has his place. Pua's the better animal.
For sure. For sure.
I haven't seen Moana 2, so I don't know if Pua has more of a thing to do in Moana 2.
A little bit more, but not as much.
I don't know. I've heard Moana 2 isn't really worth it.
And it did numbers. Wicked and It was like this, and they're, saying Moana was higher, yet now they are having a legal battle of wolves. But
Wait, what?
yeah, Moana is under fire about something being stolen, and yeah,
Moana 1 or Moana 2?
two.
What did Moana 2 steal?
Um, uh, I can't fully think of it right now. I don't want to say it was like music score or anything because Lin,
Lin wasn't on it.
no, and he was supposed to, but things happened because Moana 2 was supposed to be a show, and it ended up being a movie instead. And then by the time they thought of that, he had already moved to the project of The Lion King, so he was already obligated. And apparently, the person who did the score of Moana 2 still conversed with him and had him listen. He gave excellent remarks. Lynn gave excellent remarks about the songs were, good. To be honest, they're not Lynn. He has catchy music from Vivo to Encanto to everything. He has the Midas touch, and it didn't have it. For having other stars like Nicole from Pussycat Dolls and everything in there, it lacked that pull from the first one, but it did have some sentimental moments, being that now she is a older sister and it's a deeper story. It just wasn't as upbeat. There is passionate moments.
That's okay. A movie doesn't need to be upbeat to be a good movie.
It seemed too, you know how they tell you not to be on a one note as an actor when you're seen. And it wasn't a one note, but it wasn't as constructed as the first one, to where it felt like a very nice orchestra. It just felt like underwhelming. And like we waited for this. They canned a show and felt it was strong enough for a movie, but it still left you feeling like I could have did without part 2.
Yeah. I did look it up real quick, and the quick answer of what is going on is Disney is facing a $10 billion legal battle from animator Buck Woodall, who has filed a lawsuit alleging that Disney infringed on his copyrighted screenplay for a project titled Bucky in the creation of Moana 2. And then it also does say, and I don't know if this is true because I'm just finding like one sentence that says this, a Los Angeles jury previously decided that Disney did not steal the idea for Moana. So maybe Moana 2 is still under fire, but maybe Moana isn't.
Yeah. 2 is what I knew was under fire. I didn't know they were trying to even touch 1 as well, but 2 was completely under fire, and it came right after the high success of like 2 or 3 weekends in a row, and
what I saw was that it came either right before the Oscar nominations were announced or like a week after, one of the two, somewhere in that time frame. But yeah, anyway, Hook. Back to Hook. And where are we? What are we doing? Peter Pan having the time of his life, laughing at a chicken, making faces at a chicken. Now, the Lost Boys also have what looks like a golf ball cannon, but I couldn't quite tell what they were shooting out of there, but it looked like little white balls, so I guess golf ball. Now, Hook tells Smee to do something intelligent. So Smee, doing something intelligent, runs into the quarters and runs around just going, Smee, 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 a lot. And then he realized, Smee is me. What about me? And then I was like, I'm so confused by this scene, but I love it. I have no notes. Like, they just said, run in there and say some nonsense. And he did.
Intelligent. That was something intelligent at the moment.
I was intelligent. I love that is Smee's version of intelligent, really setting the bar high for the rest of us. Thank you, Smee. Now, Thudbutt becomes a ball and knocks some pirates out. And then other pirates get hit by tomato cannons. Another great thud ball down the gangway, and he knocks a bunch of pirates into the water. And I'm assuming the pirates can't swim because none of them show up again. They just like end up in the water. And then Thudbutt starts hitting the edges of the planks so that they like do like the little like flop up thing and knocking out pirates, hitting them in the groin. Thudbutt having a way to go here. Thudbutt then gets he gets given a 4-way water cannon, tells the Lost Boys to get down, fires, spraying 4 different pirates. The colors of the streams, in case anyone is wondering, are red, green, blue, and yellow in terms of my colorblind eyes seeing them. So if I'm wrong, I apologize, but this is what I saw. Smee, meanwhile, back to doing intelligent things. Smee is taking all the valuables and pocketing them. That is actually a very intelligent thing to do from Smee right here. He's like, we're going to lose this battle. Let's go. Now,
Yes.
some Lost Boys are trying to save Maggie, but they get caught. Jack seems to have doubts. Rufio approaches Hook, and Hook starts taunting him, going, Rufio, Rufio. Peter steps in and tells Rufio that the old man is mine. Maggie screams for Jack to save her, and Peter Pan gets distracted and flies to save Maggie. Rufio is left with Hook. Now, Peter gets into the window where Maggie is, and she is being dragged away by a pirate. A different pirate comes in to fight Peter Pan, recognizes Peter Pan, and then jumps out a window.
Like, not today.
He was just like, I will fight other Lost Boys. I don't want to fight you. Nah, not worth my paycheck. Bye. No. Peter then fights the pirate that was holding on to Maggie, and as he is fighting, Maggie realizes that Peter Pan is her dad. Hook and Rufio are fighting, and it seems like Hook is getting the upper hand, and I wrote in my notes, if Rufio dies, I'm gonna be upset, and I'm gonna be pissed off. Meanwhile, we jump back to Peter Pan. Peter kicks a statue, trapping the pirate, and is reunited with Maggie. Yay! She wasn't really important to the plot, but I guess we gotta save her. Woohoo! And he goes, I will never lose you again. Okay. It's a sentimental moment. I gotta give it to them. It was cute. It was adorable. It was a lovely moment. The Lost Boys now have the pirates on the run, and I just go, okay, things are going way too well. Something bad has to happen, and it feels like it's gonna be Rufio, and I'm gonna be mad. Rufio and Hook are fighting back and forth. Rufio gets disarmed, but slides and does a really cool move to get his sword back. Rufio then manages to trap Hook. Pan is flying in to help, and then Rufio, with an incredible line, goes, looky, looky, I got a hooky. And then Hook breaks away and stabs Rufio in the heart. Now, this was me and Peter Pan both going, no! Jack looks upset as well. Rufio falls, Peter catches him, and I'm holding out hope. I'm like, is there any way that it missed the heart? Can Rufio not be dead? I would love for Rufio not to be dead. Let's not kill Rufio. Rufio says that he wishes that he had a dad like him talking to Peter. And Jack says that he is sorry, and Rufio is dead. And my exact note was, God damn it, Hollywood. And here's my reasoning. The character-wise, story-wise, it makes sense. Story-wise, it makes sense. Character-wise, it makes sense. This is what needed to happen for this story, right? As I was saying, things were going too well. They needed something bad to happen. And it couldn't be to Jack, it couldn't be to Maggie, it couldn't be to Peter. Tink is in her feelings because she's upset that Peter is in love with Moira. Oh no, Tink, it's like you already knew this. And so she just didn't even show up to the battle, which is another issue that I have with Tink. But my biggest gripe with Rufio dying, you have cast one Asian actor in the entire film and you kill him? Hollywood, come on. Thank you for casting an Asian actor, but you gotta kill him too? Again, character-wise, it makes complete sense. Do not get me wrong. I 100% agree with the story writing and the screenboard that Rufio needed to die. But add another Asian!
Note, Hollywood, the stale tropes of killing off the person of the most ethnic look. We're tired of it.
Yeah, look, I recognize that this film is a very diverse cast in and of itself. That being said, it's kind of a diverse cast, but for 1991, I will give it it is a diverse cast for 1991. That being said, anyone except for Rufio that has any substance in the plot is white. Except for Thudbutt.
Yeah, I mean, but again, for the one with some kind of substantial part, supporting, and not day player, whatever else, um, they chose to off him, and
And we don't see, and like we're seeing it now a bit more. But growing up, like I did not see many people that looked like me in Western film and Western TV. And it's something that I still like. You see it a bit more, but you still don't really see it. Like you don't see a cool Indian in Western TV. Like,
for me to interject, and because you're the person that's like, you didn't get to watch all those things. These are your catch up moments.
oh yeah, 100%.
Um, I do remember some things, and I do remember seeing certain movies or certain shows that did come on. I will say, this is like telling on myself. I will say that even at certain ages before hitting, technical adulthood, and watching certain networks, I did see certain things. But it did have
You
certain things.
can say the certain things, Adoria. It's okay.
Look, if your bedtime was at a certain time, yes, I did stay up. Yes, it was HBO or some Showtime or something, whatever. I mean, come on, I grew up and start watching Game of Thrones, okay? So, but I did see, representation from a lot of different continents, which always made me have a broad open scope of what I like. And did I see a lot of it? No, but I saw enough to know that I like them in their roles, not to like, oh, this just has to be a Caucasian role or a black
Yeah, yeah,
role
yeah.
or a Mexican role. So like, the three go-tos that America pretty much does. And I would have liked to see more. I mean, but it gave me enough of a insight to where I have an aspiration. I was like, I want to be in a Bollywood film, or I want to be in the first K drama before it got popular. Now, let's be honest. And before K dramas was popular, it was Japanese things or being in a Japanese film because they were making samurai movies and stuff, and not
Right. And like, but like that is still work created in those places, right? I'm talking about Western TV, Western
yeah.
film. So when I talk about that, I'm mainly meaning like the UK and the US is the majority of where Western pieces are like pieces from the Western world are like created, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I had Kal Penn,
Mm-hmm.
I had Kunal Nair in Big Bang Theory.
True.
That was
True.
kind of it. I eventually got the Karan Barar in Jesse.
True. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But here's the thing: is except for Kal Penn, who got to somehow play like one of his most famous roles with Harold and Kumar, right? Like that became a cult classic, but it wasn't a hit, right? But growing up, like this is what I had, and it's like, oh, the Indian is always the nerdy kid. He's always the nerdy one. That's always the thing, and it's like now we're starting to change that. But like, and I've seen Dante Bosco do interviews where he's like, yeah, I kind of became that first one because you didn't see it in Hollywood. You didn't see it at the time. Like, you didn't see a cool punk Asian. Like, you didn't see that. Like, that wasn't allowed in Hollywood at the time. And like, people started giving him roles and like writing stuff and being like, oh, we wrote it for you because like, it's like, no, I'm not the only one. I just happened to be the first one because like someone took a chance on me and like let me do this. But it's
Yeah.
like, we exist. But like, you
Right.
just don't see that, is all I'm saying. Right. And like, we're getting better at it. There's still a
Yes.
long way to go, but we're
Yeah.
getting better at it. And I appreciate that we're getting better at it. But Hollywood, stop killing off the minorities.
Please.
Sometimes
Sincerely.
you can
Us.
Yeah, sincerely us. On that note, intermission. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the intermission. I hope you're all enjoying these episodes following Hook and all the fun that Robin Williams and this star-studded cast brings to this film. Now, just a couple of housekeeping things before we get back into this incredible film. First off, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you are enjoying it. If you would like to support the show and gain access to some bonus content, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/coopforge. So that's patreon.com/CO_OPFORGE. Sign up for any of the tiers. You get access to different types of bonus content like our notes. You get access to our Discord. You can also get access to bonus videos or bloopers and things that didn't make the final cuts of the episode that we actually published live. So all of that lives over on patreon.com/coopforge, CO_OPFORGE. And thank you to anyone who does sign up. All the money that we make from the Patreon goes right back into these shows, helping us not be in the red while we are making the shows and the fun content that we love making for you all. Now, if you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, that is fantastic as well. Thank you so much. There are a couple ways that you can do this. One, word of mouth is a great way to help raise awareness of the show and just promote the show in general. Just reach out to a friend, reach out to someone who listens to podcasts and is just like, hey, there's this podcast and it's an actor going in and it's a deep dive looking at films and his thoughts, his predictions, but also just a deep dive into the scenes and what they make you think about. And it's a really fun time and a good listen. It really does help us out a lot. Be sure to talk about us and follow us on social media at CoopForge, CO_OPFORGE on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then you can also follow at Post Finale Pod on Instagram. And we have some fun conversations over there. Talk about us, share videos, and just talk about the podcast on social media. That helps us out a lot as well. Now, last but not least, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you who have already done this, anyone who will do this in the future. Just thank you so much. And let us get back into this episode and figuring out what in the world is going on with Robin Williams in Hook. So we are back, and Peter gets up to face Hook. Good, get revenge for Rufio. Now, Jack takes off his hat and wig and says he wants to go home. Peter then stops fighting, picks him up, and Peter flies away with Jack and is reunited with Jack and Maggie. Hook yells at Peter to come back and fight him, or he will find him wherever he is. And then he goes, bad form, Peter, come back. Peter not caring. And Maggie just goes, you need a mother very, very badly. Bless. Love Maggie. Incredible. No notes for Maggie. You're not very important to the plot, Maggie, but like you got some banger one-liners here. So like Maggie, I love you. Great casting. Smee then runs out, and just as he's about to run away, Hook notices him, and then great pivot from Smee here to just go, sorry, sir, just moving some of your valuables. Like, incredibly done. Well done by Smee. Now, Hook vows that wherever Peter goes, he will be there, and daggers will follow with the signature of Captain James Hook. They will be flung at doors of your children, your children's children's children. Peter then stops. He puts down Maggie and turns to face Hook, asks what he wants, and the answer is just you. Peter flies back up and says, Peter, the Avenger is back. Sorry, it is Peter, the Avenger Pan is back. Okay. Seems a bit excessive, Peter, because I know you're not going to murder Hook. That would send a bad message to the story of the film. But, like, sure. Avenge Rufio's death. This is my feeling, right? Like, I'm like, I want you to avenge Rufio's death. Also in the same hand. I know you're not going to. Now, they clash swords, and the Lost Boys are told to stay back. It is just the two of them. And Hook just goes, prepare to die, Peter. And Peter's just like, death will be a great adventure. And Hook is just like, death is the only adventure you have left. They go back and forth with sword fighting. I love this line just randomly in the sword fighting. He just goes, I remember you being a lot bigger. To a 10-year-old, I'm huge.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they continue fighting, and the Lost Boys scramble to get out of the way, and they keep Jack and Maggie safe as well. So credit to the Lost Boys, good job there. Peter starts taunting and doing like a little dance as they're fighting as well, but Hook
Yeah.
manages to pin down Peter next to a spinning wheel. He says he is not really Peter Pan, it's all just a dream. When he wakes, he'll be Peter Banning, an old selfish man who drinks too much, who's obsessed with success, and who runs and hides from his wife and children. The Lost Boys all believe in Peter, and everyone starts saying this, everyone including his kids, and then look at who finally shows up. Tink decides to be useful. Oh, thanks, Tink. Not like we couldn't use your help in the other part of the battle. Maybe a Rufio would be alive if you showed up, Tink. God, I hate Tink right now. Tink has left a sour taste in my mouth.
Give my
Like,
girl a break, please.
what?
Give my girl a break. She needs a break.
Dude, she needs to be better. I loved her for the
room for error with women having a moment to themselves. You just gotta be there on all the time.
No. I am very okay with the woman having a moment to herself. But here's the thing. That whole conversation happened at night. The battle is the next day. Like, I get it. You might be going through some stuff, and that's valid, and that's fair. And I am not trying to unjustify whatever you're going through, Tink, but your boys need you.
Put a button on it for a moment.
That's all I'm asking, Tink. Be there for the people that you love and that you care about. Be there, help them through this battle, and then have your moment. I'm not saying don't have your moment. I'm saying you had 12 hours of your moment, and now it is time to be there for the people that need you to be there. And then you can go back to having your moment. But like, we about to go to war, bitch. Let's go.
This fairy had no concept of time.
Yeah, sorry, Ann, you're gonna have to bleep that one out. But yeah, Tink is here. Look, I loved Tink until like the last act of this film, pretty much. I was on board for Sassy Tink, and then Sassy Tink took a step too far, and then Sassy Tink didn't show up. Like, Sassy Tink, like, come on.
You gotta be on brand, Sassy Tink, and you're not doing your sass.
Yeah. Honestly, I would have loved Sassy Tink in that battle. And if Sassy Tink was there for the whole battle and Rufio still got hurt, I wouldn't be this hard on Tink. Because Tink was there, but maybe Tink was preoccupied doing something else. Tink only shows up after Rufio's been stabbed.
Heart that just shrunk down to smaller sizes of the Grinches.
Tink, you're better than this. Apparently not, but you should be. Apparently I'm mad at a cartoon and something that's 35 years old. This is going great. I love that this is what I do with my life. I do legitimately love that this is what I do with my life. I don't want to do anything else. I absolutely love this. It's so much fun. Anyway, Tink now also believes, and Peter now with the belief of everyone. And I think that it's more important that like his kids believe, and then Tink just kind of chimes in because like she's got to be important.
Yeah.
But like it was definitely like it was when Jack said it that like he truly got the moment, and then Tink was like, "Oh, me too." Tink, find the moment. But Peter breaks away and hands back Hook's sword. Hook then slices Peter with his hook, and Jack says, "Bad form," and starts to charge, but Thudbutt stops him and is like, "Jack, no!" Good job on Thudbutt being like, no, buddy. Let's not do something extremely dumb. Now we end up with this. Peter and Hook fighting again. And they end up at a huge clock. I just want to give a real big shout out here, real quick. The fight choreo, really, really good for this whole battle sequence. Like, from the war onwards, but especially this sword fighting between Peter and Hook, very, very good fight choreo. I really enjoyed the fight choreo there.
I'm a fan of fight choreo, period, because it's an aspiration to do action.
I know, right? Okay, so like in Oliver, I got to do, and I've done a lot of stage combat throughout my years, but like I got to do stage combat for the first time where I actually got hit. Like, oh, it was so much fun. Like, I got hit in the back of the head and I got gut punched every single night. and it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a really cool picture. I'll send it to you afterwards of one of me getting punched. Like it is the gut punch, and it's just a really really cool picture. And I'll send it to you if you can toss it up here in the YouTube edit. And I will try my best to post it on the Co-op Forge Instagram when this episode goes live. So go check that out too. I'll try to post it everywhere. I just gotta remember to actually do the posting thing. But yeah, it's a really cool photo. I had so much fun. I love doing fight choreo. Anyway, Peter, they end up near a clock. And Hook isn't so Peter says that he doesn't think that Hook is actually scared of clocks, but is afraid of time ticking away. Peter then knocks the hat and wig off of Hook and manages to disarm him as well. Hook applauds Peter on the good form, says that he has fallen. Asks for his dignity. You took my hand. You owe me something. And I was like, you killed Rufio, you bastard. You don't deserve dignity. Peter, kill him. It would also make a very different ending to the film. But I wanted Peter to kill him. Peter does give him his wig back. Peter then says that he killed Rufio. You kidnapped my children. You deserve to die. And Hook just says, strike, Peter Pan. Strike true. But just then, his kids run up, and Maggie says, let's go home. He's just a mean old man without a mommy. No, Maggie, he is not just a mean old man without a Maggie, without a mommy. He doesn't have a Maggie either. But you don't got a mommy. Sure, that's not the problem here. He deserves to die. Jack also says, let's go. He can't hurt us anymore. That's not true, but okay. Man still got a hook for an arm.
Yeah.
I feel like he can hurt you. Peter tells Hook.
Yeah. We saw what I don't know what his technical name is though, but we saw, I Know What You Did Last Summer. He had a whole hook. So
What?
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What are you talking about?
When they hit the guy with the car, it's another movie, the character. And he's like, you have Jason, you have Freddy. Freddy had the claw hands, Jason, machete, whatever, the killer. And I Know What You Did Last Summer had a hook, a fisherman's hook. So, and he did some things with that hook. And saying Hook could have actually done some things with that hook, but he never did. He kept it PG.
I'm going to act like I know what you're talking about.
Well, if you ever get to watch the beginning of the franchise, even though there are talks about they're already in production of doing a remake with some of the original cast, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Brain Fart.
I love that actor. Brain Fart's such a great actor. So good. Such a good actor. I love their work.
Yes. And whenever I meet you, I'm sorry if you've heard this podcast, but I know you're the star of that movie. But yes, saying a hook is very deadly. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, he was.
I've heard of that film. Haven't seen it. I'm assuming there's a chainsaw and a massacre.
Let's just say there is a meat packing plant and an overlarge man who had a skin condition and he likes to remove skins and he used every tool. And in meat packing, what do they put large pieces of meat on? Hooks. So everything was used in there, from a chainsaw to whatever.
Lovely. Okay. Now, Peter tells Hook to take his ship. Go. Never wants to see him in Neverland again. Peter, you ain't coming back to Neverland, so how are you going to police this?
Without a Rufio, without someone of some kind of strong caliber to enforce this, yeah, that's it.
Well, it would have been Tink, but Tink's in her feelings, and that's fair, that's valid. Tink's got to be in her feelings, but Tink ain't up for the job because Tink just dropped the ball.
Even if Tink wasn't in her feelings, I still don't see it. Like I said, it would have had to have been Rufio or something, like someone who wanted to be that tough leader and took the torch after Pam left. And Tink is not that. She's a sassy pants that can try to delegate some things and be like a mini mama bear. But that's it. Like, she
Yeah.
has no full-on force to take on Hook, or she would have did it. She's a great cheerleader. She is not a general.
No. Now, Hook grabs his sword when Peter's back is turned and attacks Peter. And he says, "Fool, James Hook is Neverland." And he says, "Whenever children read it, it will say, 'Thus perished Peter Pan.'" Hook comes down to strike, but Tink blocks Hook's hook. Tink finally doing something useful in this battle. God, Tink, where were you earlier when Rufio was stabbed? This is all I'm saying. This is why I got issues with you, girl. Now, Peter grabs Hook and he smashes his hook hand into what looks like a wall, and then smoke billows out of it, and the rock and the building wakes up, and it's a giant crocodile, but like a fake crocodile, and then the crocodile falls out of the structure, and it falls onto Hook such that like Hook is like enveloped by the mouth of the crocodile, and then Hook is gone, bangarang. I don't know how to describe that any better.
The crack, the crack, the crack.
I don't know.
Cartoons, the reference. The whole reason.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original in a very long time.
Well, the reason he has that hook is because of the
Well,
crack.
I know that.
And the clocks.
Yeah, I know all of that. I just didn't remember the song.
Yeah, well.
Now, Maggie and Jack are a little shocked by all of this. Peter says that he can't stay and play. He came what he had to do what he had to do. Now he has to go back. The Lost Boys ask him not to go, and he asks Tink to make his kids glow. Peter tells Jack and Maggie to think one happy thought and fly like him. Maggie says, "Mommy!" And Jack says, "My dad, Peter Pan." Maggie really does not care that her dad is Peter Pan at all. Like, Maggie's just like, "I'm his mom. That's fine. I'm his mom. Dad can fly. I'm his mom." Like, I love it.
I'm in Neverland. I miss mom.
One note, perfect. No notes. Now, they follow Tink, and Peter Pan says that he will be right behind them. Peter then goes to the Lost Boys. Thudbutt tells Peter not to leave them. Do not say goodbye. Peter says that they are all his Lost Boys and that he will never forget them. Never. Peter asks who to leave in charge. He decides on Thudbutt. Thudbutt definitely deserves this. And he tells Thudbutt, "I want you to take care of everyone who's smaller than you." Thudbutt raises his sword, and they all smile at Peter as he flies away. And Thudbutt says, "Thank you for believing. That was a great game." Now, we are back. We're almost at the end of the movie, and we're back in the bedroom, and leaves fly in. It hits Moira, and, Jack and Maggie fly into the window. They know her. Maggie says, "Let's not wake her yet. She looks like an angel." Moira then wakes and sees the leaf. She notices the window is open, and then she clocks that her children are in her bed or in their beds. And Wendy walks in and asks if she has been up all night. Moira says that she sees them in their beds at night so often in her dreams. When she wakes, she still sees them there. The kids then jump out of bed and hug their mother. It's a very heartfelt moment. Wendy looks out to see where Peter is because she knows. She knows what's been going on. She knows where Peter is. She's like, "What's happening?" We see a statue of what looks like Peter, and Peter is sleeping at the base of it. And there is someone shoveling bottles, and Peter thinks that it is Tink. "No, it's Smee!" And he just goes, "Having trouble with the missus? You will be the time you get home." I love it. I love it. But also, Smee ran away with all the gold? Why is Smee shoveling bottles? Smee, sell the gold.
It's sentimental value. Let's see. He's doing what every smart fake pretend hobo has ever done. Pocket the money and then just get more.
Yeah. He's just like,
Never
I'm
be
gonna.
flashy.
You know what? It could also be as simple as, and I'd like to think this, Smee just likes to clean up this little courtyard every day. Because he's like, it gets trashed, and people deserve a nice courtyard. So maybe he is rich, and he's just taking care of a nice little courtyard.
He's a caretaker. He doesn't have Hook anymore, so what is it for him to take care of?
Exactly. Now, Tink is there and tells Peter to say it and mean it, and he says, I believe in fairies. And Tink says, you know that place between sleep and awake when you're still dreaming? That's where I'll always love you, Peter Pan. That's where I'll be waiting. Tink then vanishes, and Peter flops into their garden. He says hi to Nora. Then the phone rings, and he digs it up like a little dog. And he tells Brad the general gist of what has happened. And he goes, I'll fill you in later. And then he goes, I'd love to chat, but I have to climb a drain pipe. Why? I ran out of fairy dust, otherwise I'd fly. Why? I love that he doesn't think anything of it. He's just like, yeah, like this is a very logical reason, buddy. What are you doing here? Peter then knocks at the window, asks to be let in. Jack opens it, asking if he has an appointment. And Peter says, what did I tell you about this window? Never, ever close it. He then sees Moira, and he kisses her the way that Tink should not have kissed Peter. But he kisses her with a loving, passionate kiss. And then the phone rings while they're kissing. And Peter goes, I have to take this. And I love this moment. He just goes, Brad, have you ever known what it's like to feel the exhilaration of really flying? Feel this. And then he tosses the phone out the window. Woohoo! Redemption for Peter. Also, as I have said most of my life at this point, damn it, Brad. It's a lovely inside joke that my friends and I have. It's always Brad's fault. Damn it, Brad. It's just Brad. Now, Moira asks where he has been. They are all thrilled. Toodles walks in and says that he missed the adventure again. Peter goes and gives his marbles to Toodles, and Toodles is thrilled. And Wendy says, hello, boy. And he says, hello, Wendy lady. He is crying a tear for every happy thought. There apparently is some pixie dust in Toodles' marbles bag. Toodles sprinkles it onto himself. Well, he doesn't sprinkle it. It more like dumps onto him. And he starts to fly. As he flies out, he says, seize the day. And so your adventures are over. And then we get the beautiful line to end the film. Oh no, to live. To live is an awfully big... I'm going to redo that, Ant. And then we get a beautiful line to end the film. Oh no, to live is an awfully big adventure. And the film ends in a pan out as we see Toodles flying in the distance over London. And it is a beautiful, beautiful ending to our film. Yeah. Now I do got a couple...
London.
Oh, I love London. I miss London. Now, I do have some fun little facts about this film. Just the stuff that I normally pull in at the end of one of these. The budget for this film was $70 million. Adoria, what do you think they made in the box office? I'll give you a hint. They made their money back.
Being that it was a star-studded cast, and just by 3 names alone, meaning Tink, Peter, and Hook, I want to say, if not double, triple.
Yeah, almost 300.9 million.
Yeah, sounds about right.
On a $70 million budget. So really, really well done by them. Now, a couple of things here. On IMDb, it is rated a 6.8 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, which is the critic score, is a 29%, which is a travesty. But the popcorn meter, which is the audience score, is a 76%. But the critics apparently hated this film.
Well, most of them are cynics. And this soundbite might come back to bite me in the butt, but, at the same time, it's like, I don't care. If the people like it, if it does well in numbers and whatever else, a few people have been given a title. You don't outweigh the majority. And
right.
Art is subjective, and you can't please everyone. And with that being said, it's an amazing film. I don't think we're going to get another live action to do it as eloquently as they did it. I think it was just done great the way it was. There's no redoing that version. They can do their own rendition, but that is great.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, what would you rate the film?
In my personal opinion, because I
Yeah,
love Robin Williams and majority of this cast, I would give it a solid 8.9.
nice. I'd probably give it like a 7.5, 7.9, like somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8. I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely one that I would happily sit down and watch again at some point.
Mm,
Um, but at the same time, there are things that annoyed me about it and holes, and yeah, so it's not quite up there, and I don't have the nostalgic factor looking into it, but I really
mhm,
enjoyed this film, and I thought for what it needed to do and what it set out to do, I think it did a beautiful job of doing that. I think the pacing a little bit is off, but like, we'll live. It's okay. I think it's fun. Just the last couple of things. It had 24 total nominations. It won 6 awards. It was nominated for 5 Oscars. And this is what it was nominated for. It was nominated for Best Art Direction and Set Decoration by
mm,
Norman Garwood and Garrett Lewis, Best Costume Design for Anthony Powell, Best Effects and Visual Effects, which was Eric Brewig, Harley Jessup, Mark Sullivan, and Michael Lantieri. I apologize if I mess up anyone's names, as always. Um, then Best Makeup, Christina Smith, Monty Westmore, Greg Cannom, and it was also nominated at the Oscars 1992 for Best Music Original Song, and this was John Williams and Leslie Bricusse, and it was the song When You're Alone. But yeah, it did really, really well over the years. I think it still holds up as a film. I really enjoyed it. Do you
mhm.
have any final thoughts about the film for our lovely listeners?
If you have children, if you have nieces or nephews or whatever else, and you are an advocate of them having a imaginative childhood or whatever, and to really, broaden their horizons, this is a good little movie to have them watch instead of like the little animations, which not knocking them. I'm definitely an advocate of those as well, but this is something that just really would get those little neurons firing. And it's a good feel good movie.
For sure, for sure. It's a very fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Adoria, thank you so much for joining along on this journey. If listeners want to find you on the internet and follow along with all the cool projects that you got coming up, how can they do that? How can they follow you?
Be sure to check me out on Instagram. That's the best way to go. I have links in my bio also as well. But again, Adoria Lily, Adoria, as it sounds, Adoria, and then Lily as the flower, Lily. And you will see my tag as Thick Pocahontas with 2 C's. And that's where you know you're in the right place.
Wonderful. Yeah, we will try to leave links down in the description as well. But Adoria, thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad we were able to get you back on this show. I know we've been talking about it for almost like a year and a half now of getting you back on, and this was such a fun movie to have you on for. So thank you so much for
Yes.
joining. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to join us next week where I'm sure I'm going to have some gripes about whatever movie I'm watching next, but it's a good time. I hope you are enjoying yourselves. If you have any recommendations of films you want to watch that you want me to watch, leave them in the comments. Leave a comment. Leave us a review. If you've listened this far, I feel like you enjoyed the episode. So, leave a review. Leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you are listening to. It really does help us out a lot. And thank you all very much. And I'll catch y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale. Post Finale is created and hosted by me, Ankit Madhira. It is produced by Ankit Madhira and Stephen Nieman. The music is by Ankit Madhira and Megan Hutchison. The art is by Jarid Rother, and our editor is Servellon. If you like the show, please follow us on social media at co-op forge, CO_OPFORGE on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook to keep up to date on everything that's happening with the podcast. And you can also follow at Post Finale Pod on Instagram if you just want updates for this show. talk about us on social media. It really does help us out a lot. And thank you to anyone who has done this in the past or who will do this in the future. If you want to support in a monetary way and get access to some bonus content, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/co-op forge. That's patreon.com/co_opforge. And all the money raised on that Patreon goes directly back into the show to make it a better experience for you, the listeners. We just want to create good content while not being in the red while doing so, and your support means the world to us. If you can support in a non-monetary way, that's great as well. Just tell a friend about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to grow the show, and it really does help us out a lot. Leave a rating or review, subscribe, follow on whatever podcast app you are listening on. If you're listening on our YouTube channel, Co-op Forge, please hit a follow. If you're listening on another app, if you could do us a favor and go hit us follow on our YouTube channel, it would help us out. If we hit 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we got a special thing coming out for you all. But until then, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Post Finale, and be sure to join us next week as we get on to more shenanigans. And until then, I'll catch y'all later.